Good morning. Welcome back. How are we doing? All right. New week. New week, new opportunities. That's always the motto, right? That is always the motto. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, yeah. Good morning, good morning. Welcome back, welcome back. Buenos dias. June 12th, huh? June 12th. Rise and shine. Time to make the donuts. Time to make the donuts. Alrighty. Wait a few minutes. Wait for some people to jump in. New York City in the building. China. Good morning. The TOS contract changed. The contracts changed to September. So obviously futures contracts have expiration dates as well. So the contract moved over to September contracts, but typically the TOS will, I'm not sure why it hasn't adjusted. So that's why I'm using the SPY and QQQ today. Typically TOS will adjust. This is not a real gap up. This is not a gap up. This is just a contract change. And this information is old, still on the charts. Usually this will adjust and all my levels will adjust, but for some reason it is not this morning. So we'll see why. I don't know if that's going to happen at open or what's happening here. I could go to the old ES contract, but then I have no levels on my screen. So, and also this contract is not going to be traded. It's going to be the September contract that's trading. So I am going to stay away from this ES today and just focus on the SPY and QQQ because the SPY and QQQ show the real picture. So we'll see. We'll see if I have to make all new levels. But this should not be here. This is just a contract change right here. This is not right. So if you think that we gapped up, we did not. Okay, so make sure you know that this is not a gap up. The NASDAQ and ES did not gap up this morning. This is not a bullish gap up. This is just simply a contract change on the market. All right, just know that. To alleviate that, we don't have to freak out. All we have to do is go to the SPY and go to the QQQ. Okay? You could even probably look at the SPX today if you want. But I'm just going to focus on the SPY and QQQ. So that is why you guys saw SPY and QQQ in the technical analysis this morning. I think that's probably the better thing to focus on. Let me check. Yeah, if you guys have... All right, Kyle, let me try that. Go to settings in the futures. On the left side. Oh, adjust for contract change. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Kyle. There he is. All righty. Kyle the GOAT. I did not know that. That is new for me. Adjust for contract changes. Boom. All right. Well, there we go. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you there. That's the power of the community. So I'm going to have to we'll redo this live, I guess. Fuck it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. All right. Good morning. Welcome back. Hope everyone's having a good morning. Welcome back to the stream. Press that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're already getting educated early morning here. How do you do that on TradingView? I don't know, Ray. Good question. All I thought about right there was the scene from Wolf of Wall Street after he sold the guy the penny stocks. How the fuck did you do that? All right. So welcome back. June 12th. Some big economic data this week. Let's get started. So economic earnings calendar. Here we go. Let's pull that up. This is a big week. This is a big week. Today, federal budget at 2 o'clock. Nothing much there. Nothing much there on the economic today. But after today, it gets real spicy. So tomorrow, CPI in the morning, 8:30. That's big, right? That's obviously very big. After tomorrow, you got Wednesday, right? Wednesday comes after Tuesday. Hopefully it does. If not, we got other problems. On Wednesday, PPI. So CPI, PPI, two big events. Wednesday at 2 and 2:30, we have Fed decision, right? And Jerome Powell press conference. So we have the rate decision at 2, and we have the Jerome Powell speaking at 2:30. That's huge. That is right after we have CPI and PPI. So tomorrow and Wednesday could be some wild action on these economic events. Thursday, jobless claims, retail sales, import price index, some big stuff as well, right? Retail sales important, jobless claims somewhat important. And then Friday, consumer sentiment and a Fed governor speaking at 7:45 a.m. So is today a silent day? Is today a day that we have to be cautious of maybe some chop, maybe some, people staying hands off, right? Not really getting any true direction. Very possible, right? Very possible before CPI, very possible before FOMC on Wednesday. So today, typically what we'll see on a Monday before CPI and FOMC is a pretty sideways price action, pretty choppy price action, agreement, and just not really any willingness to go in a single direction. That's possibly what we have to plan for today. So let's make sure we keep that in mind, all right? So that's the economic. Michael, thank you, man. As always sending donations in the chat. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that, man. Hopefully you're finding value. I'm assuming you are if you keep on donating, so I appreciate that very much. That is very kind of you. Thank you, man. On the earnings side, we have Oracle after close today. You can see it's starting to thin out here. Lennar Home Builder, my house in Naples, built by Lennar. Not the best builder, but good for cookie cutter houses. Probably good for profits as well. But definitely a cookie cutter builder there. I'm assuming we'll see how they do with the current real estate environment. And then Adobe, that's a pretty big one there on Thursday of this week. Adobe Thursday of this week is a pretty big one. I'm actually going to watch this one. I'm interested to see. I really like what Adobe's doing with their Photoshop. That AI Photoshop thing that you guys are seeing, that's pretty badass stuff. So interested to see what Adobe does and how they do in the future with that. Going to keep an eye on that company for sure. But that's really it. Nothing really on the economic side there. So not much there. All right. So big economic data tomorrow, Wednesday, CPI, PPI, FOMC, pretty much the big three, right? Those are the biggest three events you could ask for on the market. So we have the three biggest events all in the next 2 days, which is going to be pretty massive. So Tesla, 244, really nice hold watching this. NVIDIA, that hourly chart we talked about is looking pretty nice, holding swing trades here. Netflix, 414, looks pretty interesting today. That TSM flag worked out gorgeous. This is the same setup as Shopify. You guys know I gave back those profits on Shopify on Wednesday of last week. I have made back 70, 80% of those profits that I gave back by trading the same exact setup again on TSM. So Friday I had about a $5,000 day. If I have a decent day on these swing trades that I'm in, which all look great this morning, I'm pretty much going to make back everything that I gave back on Shopify. And that is simply because I stayed consistent with the strategy that I trade. I did not lose confidence in the setups, and they worked out beautifully. So TSM was gorgeous. I shared that all on Twitter. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, if you're not in the Discord, you guys know in the Discord we called when we took that trade. But sometimes I'll post some setups on Twitter just to have some interaction with some of you guys. So make sure to follow me on Twitter. It's down on the bottom of your screen, Desi_trade. That exact TSM setup was shared there before it even moved. So check that out. TSM was awesome. Microsoft swing trade. This is something I'm in. AMD strong and Coinbase watching this bear flag today. Some really nice setups out there today. We'll have to see if we get the market action. That's the question mark. Do we get some real market action today? That's going to be the real question. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with the SPY and QQQ, and then we'll jump into the futures because I have not updated my futures chart today because I was not aware of the adjust for contract changes, which I will do live here with you guys. So let's start with the SPY. And the SPY is pretty easy. The SPY is pretty easy today. There is not much question here about how to set this trade up. It's very clear, right? Where did we reject last week, and where are we holding above today? So last week we had very, very, very clear rejections at 429.70, 430 on the SPY. Monday, right? Wednesday, Thursday, and look at what happened Friday, right? So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, triple top at pretty much the exact same level. 429.70, you could call it 430. It's as clear as day. Now, Friday, we got above that level. We came back down to that level. We held that level. And in the pre-market today, we are pushing off that level. So this is a very easy psychological way. It's very mentally easy, right? There's no question marks here. If you are above this triple top from last week, you are not shorting this market, right? It makes it, now you can, right? Just remember when I say these things, this is how I think of things. You can absolutely short this market into this level. You could try to play scalps to the downside off 432. There's always a short, there's always a long everywhere on the market. If you really zoom in, there's always going to be something. In my eyes, right, I like to zoom out. I like to think bigger picture. I like to make sure I'm playing with the longer term view. I'm not trying to short into an uptrend, right? That's not what I'm trying to do. Of course, there's going to be short-term trades to short the downside. I like to trade with what the market trend is because the probabilities of me being right is usually higher if I'm trading with the trend. And the trend right now, there's nothing bearish about it. And the move that we saw Friday solidifies that it's still strong, right? Because we just turned a previous triple top into a support, right? So as long as the SPY is above this triple top from last week, there is no reason to try to battle this and short into demand today, right? That is just not something that I am going to be interested in doing. So if I see the SPY above these highs, then I am only looking to see if I can play upside, right? I'm looking to see, can I find demand here at 430? Is there a demand bounce off this retest, right? Do we get more upside? Do we do a break and retest of the highs for more upside, right? I am staying on the long side as long as we are above last week's triple top, right? Very nice, right? Very clear. Very easy way to sort of train your mind today and say if-then statements, right? If SPY is above 430, you could even just say 430, or I would say 429.70. If SPY is above previous week triple top at 429.70, then bullish, right? But you have to make sure you can react, because if the SPY is to break under this, right? If we are to break this level today, and we are to reject this level today, right? And we start to see this, then we have to adjust, right? We have to adjust. Hold on, guys. I'm getting an important text here. My bad. All right. So if we are to break under this triple top from last week, then we have to adjust, right? This is where that intraday ability to adjust to the price action is very key, right? Because, you know, you'll get people that come on the live streams tomorrow. You said, oh, you can't short the market if it's above this. Well, yeah, because you have to adjust to what the market's doing still, right? So if you drop under this 429.70, if you start to turn this into rejections, then you have to look for the downside, right? Then you're not going to long it back into a triple top, right? If we drop this triple top, if we start to trade here, then no, I'm not going to long back into that, right? That doesn't make sense. So today we watch 429.70, we watch 430, we watch this zone that was previous rejections. If we are above that, then we are looking for upside. If we get a break above 432 today, if we hold above 432, then that is going to push the SPY higher, all right? So 432 supply, be careful of that, right? I would rather be short. I'd rather be long closer to 430 for a push into 432. I would not be that confidently long into this high, right? I wouldn't just long here into this high from Friday, right? That doesn't make sense. So if you do get a little demand hold today at 429.70, 430, there might be a nice little upside play back into 432. That could be something to watch. If you get a push over this 432, then I would look for that hold above 432. There could also be, right? There could also be this play. And if you guys want to take this play, there's nothing wrong with it. I personally will not take this play. It's just not really what I want to do. If you get this move into 432 and you start to see rejections, there might be a nice little short there, right? There might be a short here into this 430 area for like a 2-point scalp on the SPY. I'm not that fond of playing supply rejections when the market is going up. When the trend is strong up, right? I would rather play supply rejections. For me personally, I want to play supply rejections when the market is doing this, right? Because I know I can play this supply rejection at that previous low, right? And I can short right here, right? That's sort of what I like to do. When we're going up, like we have been, I'm not that interested in shorting the previous day high and trying to hope that it does a double top, right? I'm sort of more interested in a long, right, on the retests. So if the market is trending up like it has been, I'm a little less fond of shorting the highs because of the market strength. If like 2022, I was doing supply rejections every single day, right, as the market was just going down. The last few weeks, last few months have been pretty strong, and we can't deny that. So you could look for this, right? This is definitely a play. It's definitely a short-term possible scalp today to the downside. Just not as fond of that trade. I'd rather look for longs at 430, 429.70, or I would look for shorts if we are to drop below this previous triple top, right? And then I'd look for shorts back into that 426. All right. So that's how I'm looking at the SPY today. It's pretty textbook, pretty easy to read, right? You can clearly see the consolidation last week that's leading to a breakout today. If we hold above that previous high, I'm looking long. If we break below this previous high, I'm looking short. So pretty easy there. QQQ. All right, so QQQ is in a little bit of a different scenario here. The QQQ is still below last week's triple top. And so this is important to pay attention to, right? So if you stay below this last week triple top on the QQQ, we need to be careful of being long tech because you can see this is Monday, this is Wednesday, and this is Friday. And you can see all three of those days we rejected the exact same level, 357. Now this morning we are below 357 on the Qs. So do you want to long into a triple top? No, right? No. I am not going to want to long the Qs into a triple top. That does not make sense, right? If the Qs get over this, if the Qs start to do this, then sure, right? Then sure. I'll look for longs and see if 357 turns into demand. But I'm not going to long into a triple top, right? That doesn't make any sense. So we need to be careful of that 357, right? That's a very clear triple top from last week. We do not want to long into that. We'll see if there's any type of upside continuation into that level today. So that's a big watch. Now to the downside, there's some key levels to pay attention to here in the short term. The first one looks to be 355. 355 on the Qs is this little area of congestion here, right? And then you can see it sort of trying to hold this morning. So I think 355 is a little bit of a short-term level to watch here for potential demand. But the bigger level is down here at 350, 350. Right? 350, 350 right here is really the bigger level. If you guys look at this 15-minute chart, you can see this is Tuesday's lows, right? This is Thursday's highs. This is Friday's lows, right? Look how clear that was. So you have a 350, 350, Tuesday low, Thursday high, and Friday low. So where's the easier short on this market? Where's the short that would, get more volatile and more aggressive for an easier trade? It is the short under 350, 350, right? 350, 350. That's the short, right? Right there. If you can get a break under 350, 350, if you can start to see a rejection like this, right? And then you look for that short down back towards the channel lows. So for today, right, when I look at this QQQ, I would not be surprised to see the QQQ trade within this channel all day today. I would not be surprised in the slightest because of CPI, PPI, and FOMC tomorrow. So today we might need to just trade this channel, right, between 357 and 350, 350, right? That is most likely the channel that you see the QQQ trade in today with the economic data approaching. So watch longs to your 357, that's supply. Watch the shorts into 350, 350, right? If the market tanks in the morning and you start to short at demand, right, you're asking to see this. If you start to long as the market's going higher and you long right into a triple top, you're asking to see this, right? The shorts here and the longs here could lose all day. If you just continue to chase these moves, you short at supply, you long at demand, you short at demand, you long at supply, you could lose all day by doing the exact same thing. You need to change your mindset when you're trading in a channel. You have to long here and you need to short here if we are going to stay within this channel. 357, 350, 350. It is not until you get a real break and hold above either side. It's the same thing we talk about every day. It's the same thing every day. Trading is repetitive. Trading is not fun and exciting. It's the same exact thing every day. If you long, if you get a break above triple tops and you hold above it, then you long. If you break below this low and you turn it into a rejection, then you short, right? That's where you change the direction, here and here, right? So shorts here, longs here, or trade the channel. It's the same damn thing every day. All right. That's that. So that's the QQQ. Watch those levels, very clear levels, very precise levels, real easy to sort of manage your intraday trades. If you just trust the levels, that's all you have to do instead of your emotions. All right. Here's the NASDAQ. So let's just quickly go over the NQ futures. Now that we did that futures change here, it's pretty much going to be the same thing, right? There's no difference here. This is obviously our demand that we just looked at on the Qs, right there on that 14.7. And our supply is up here at this 14.860. All right, you can clearly see it's the same exact things. All right, QQQ and NQ futures, exact same things. So there's your NQ, all right, 14.860. You got your triple top, and you got your demand down at 14.7. So do the futures just trade within this channel today? Absolutely possible, right? Do we just trade within about a 150-point range today? Very, very possible. Watch 14.7, watch 14.860, all right? ES, let's go ahead and look at that. Here's your triple top from last week around that 43.50, right? And let me go ahead and put this here. See, right there. Make that green because we are above it. Move this up a little bit because it looks like the demand was around this 43.20 area, right in there. Move that up. Sort of adjust this for you guys live. Delete that. There we go. So if the ES, right, if the ES is above this high, if it's above this high, if it's above this high, if we're above 43.50 on the ES futures, right, then we're looking for the upside above that 43.50. All right, same thing as the SPY. I'm getting a phone call. All right, so that's the futures. All right, very nice. YM, we'll take a look at the YM real quick. Oh wow, I didn't realize the Dow did this. Yeah, that's pretty clean on the Dow, huh? Look at what the Dow did last week. Look at that little break and retest right there of these highs. 33,900, very clean. Watch out for this triple top. Highs here, highs here. Just watch out on the Dow up here around that 34.4, 34.7. All right. On the Russell, this could be interesting. This could be really interesting, right? Look at this Russell. Oh, the contract's changed. Hold on. I got to readjust this. Yeah, watch this right here, this 1880 area on the Russell. So right here, you guys can see on the Russell, right? On this 4-hour chart, we have these lows here. We have these lows here, right? And look at what we're starting to see here. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we can start to see a potential break and retest of these lows right here. So I'd watch this 1880, 1875 on the Russell. It looks like there's a little bit of resistance up here, though, around that 1920 level. All right, so if we drag this supply over, we got to be careful of this rejection around this 1920 on the Russell. Previous lows, you have some supply that stepped in there. You could be creating a little flag here, though, right? This is sort of what we've been seeing on this market. We've been seeing these flags into the retest levels, all right? And this exact setup is what I'm looking at on TSM, what I looked at on Shop, why I took these trades, right? This little flag here on the 4-hour looks very interesting if we hold that 1880, right? 1880 retest. If we break out of this flag, if we start to hold this demand here, then I would look for that next move into that 1920 again. So keep an eye on that 1880 if you are trading the Russell. All right, let's get into some stocks. So, Tesla, right? The one that everyone's sort of watching here. Tesla, if I zoom out, let me get a little bit more time here. If I zoom out on Tesla, I think your next level here ultimately is 260, right? That's your next level on Tesla, 260. So you have these previous lows, these previous highs, these previous lows, and you have this little gap to fill around 260. So I think your next level is up to 260. That's where I think the next supply steps in. Above 260, you're probably moving towards that 300. All right, so 260 is where I think it gets heavy. If we look at this recent trend on Tesla, right, we can see that we've been doing nothing but holding an uptrend, right? We have continued to hold this uptrend pretty much for the last few weeks, honestly. And you can see how Tesla is stair-stepping higher here very, very nicely, right? Look at these stair-stepping patterns. Look at this high, right? You break it, you retest it. This was Wednesday of last week. You do this little flag, back to the retest, you break out, right? Big breakout here. On Friday, the move on Friday, in my opinion, was the exact same move that you got on Wednesday of last week, right? This is what I was telling the group pretty much all day. And the reason that I swung Tesla calls into today was because the move on Friday of last week looked identical to this move on Wednesday, right? These two moves right here, this circle and this circle, look identical to me, right? I think they are the same types of days, right? They are pretty much just a little bit of a profit-taking consolidation after a big gap up, right? You had a big gap up on Tuesday into Wednesday. You had a major gap up into Thursday into Friday. So, in my opinion, these little consolidation days, right, where you just sort of slide lower, should not scare you out of this uptrend, right? This is sort of the people that take profits here are just sort of panic sellers, and they're not really looking at the larger picture, in my opinion. This should not have gotten you out of Tesla, and I believe that this should not get you out of Tesla either, right? Tesla continued to hold this 244 demand that was stepping in the after hours pre-market on Thursday into Friday, and it held it like a dream, right? If you go to the 5-minute chart and you look at Friday's price action, look at how we had this demand here. We moved down into it, and we continued to hold it, and you can see the little gap up that's starting today. So I still think Tesla has more, right? Why would I think it's going to stop here after this trend, after it continues to hold previous lows and right? It continues to stair step higher. I think your ultimate target here is 260. I am holding swing trades. The only way this changes for me, the only way Tesla changes for me is if it breaks under 244. As long as Tesla maintains this 244, then I continue to think that Tesla moves higher. If Tesla breaks this 244 and turns it into rejections, right, then look for the downside into 230, right? If you turn 244 into rejections, then look for the downside into 230, all right? So keep an eye on that. Watch that 240 level, all right? 244. Previous lows, watch that 244. If you break under that, then I think this changes, because then this sort of goes into this gap, right? If we go to the daily chart, you have that gap there still. So if you break that 244, then you move into the gap, which can then cause downside, right? I am not marrying the macro data. I am simply focusing on the technical analysis, right? If you are above 244, there is no reason to exit this long. If you break below 244, then you look for that downside into the gap fill. I am simply doing technical analysis, right? This is how you extend your wins, by trusting the technical levels. If you continue to watch this, right? If you just watch these levels, then you probably could continue this win rather than just being panicked out of every downside move. And you have to still adjust to what's on your screen, all right? If you break under 244, if you break under that 244, then I would agree that things can change, right? If you see this fall, if you see this start to hold below, then us as traders have to do our best to adjust to the current situation, right? And I am the first person to admit, and I did it in a YouTube video, so there's no reason to come here and say things like this, that I did not manage it correctly, right? I was the first person to admit that I did not adjust to what the technicals were showing me correctly, right? And that's one of the hardest things as a trader, is to have an idea, right? And to not adjust to what the market is telling us, because we as humans want to be correct, right? And it is very difficult to change or to understand that the market is showing us something different, to accept it and to accept that we're wrong, right? So if Tesla is to drop below that, then that is our job as traders to say, okay, this is no longer valid. I need to adjust to what the market is telling me, right? And so that's how I would play this, right? As long as you're over 244, this looks good. If you drop below, watch for that gap fill. If you hold over 244, then I think your ultimate target is 260. All right? So that's Tesla. NVIDIA, right? Hourly chart. I am in this NVIDIA swing trade, pretty much back from the 375 demand, which is awesome, right? You guys know, if you're in the Discord or if you're sort of watching the live streams, you know I said that I want to look to long off 375. This is working really nicely. On Friday, we got a break of that hourly downtrend right here, which I do like. Now, the only concern I have for this NVIDIA trade that I'm in is the supply at 395, right? This 395 supply is a little bit concerning. So you did get your hourly breakout, right, of this downtrend. You actually turned this downtrend into support on Friday, which was very nice, right? You can see we actually turned this 1 hour downtrend into support, which I like to see. But, right, the 395 supply is looking very heavy. So I am in this swing trade. It's green, right? This morning it's going to be green on this gap up. I have to definitely adjust to see what happens at 395 today. If I see rejections at 395 today again, I might take this off because of CPI tomorrow, just to be, a little bit risk adverse, just to be cautious, maybe not to have too much risk on my portfolio into a big event. 395 is going to be heavy on NVIDIA. So I like this break. I like the consolidation still on NVIDIA. I still think this is strong. If NVIDIA was weak, it would have already gap filled, right? NVIDIA does not want to fill this gap yet. At least that's what it's showing us, right? So until NVIDIA breaks these lows, it is not going to fill this gap. And I know everyone wants to get this gap filled because it's going to be juicy when it happens. But right now, NVIDIA is saying to us, I'm not going for the gap fill yet, right? I am still holding this demand. So maybe on economic data this week, it does it, right? If FOMC drops the market, then this could be our watch. But as of right now, that's not happening. So supply at 395, keep an eye on that, right? You can clearly see the supply rejection that came in on Friday. You guys can see right here, very clean supply rejection, maintained, right? What did it do? It actually maintained the previous highs, which is pretty nice actually, right? So you can see right here, it actually maintained the previous highs, turned Thursday's highs into demand. Pretty nice there. Little gap up this morning. Just watch out for this high, all right? If you are long NVIDIA, just be very cautious of this 395 area, right? This is heavy. You need to get above this for more upside. Now, I will say, right, if you do see this move, right, if you see this move on NVIDIA, I think you have a good opportunity here for another big move on NVIDIA. If you see this high, right, this high, and this high turn into a demand, that is, at that point, for me personally, right, I'm talking about me, right? You take it or you leave it. I just explain how I trade. You take it or you leave it. For me, if I see that, I'm going to long NVIDIA, and I do not care if I lose, right? If I see a rejection, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejection points, if I see 5 rejection points over 2 weeks turn into a demand, right, there is not much else that I could ask for to go long a position, right? At that point, you have to trust your analysis. You have to trust how you trade. You have to accept your risk, and you have to accept that if the stock falls back below, that you are wrong and you take your loss, right? But like Mark Douglas says in his books, right? This is the psychology of trading. Like Mark Douglas said is in his books, in his Trading in the Zone, right? There will never be 100% certainty in any trade you take, right? There is always going to be a level of uncertainty. And there's a point when you take a trade that it's almost like a 100% loading bar, right? Think of like a loading bar that loads. You're never going to get 100%, right? It's always going to be like the loading bar that only goes to about 90%. There's always that 10% that you simply cannot reach full certainty, right? There's always going to be that uncertainty. But we have to learn to trade and accept that 10% uncertainty, accept that potential loss, accept that we could be wrong. And that's just simply how it goes, right? That's trading. That's trading. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. NVIDIA 395, going to keep an eye on that. Netflix 414. This is very interesting on Netflix. This is a huge level break on Netflix. You can see what happened after it squeezed above that level on Friday, right? You squeezed this in the pre-market. Now, There is one thing that you have to take away from Netflix's move on Friday. There is one thing that you as a technical trader need to pay attention to and understand what happened on Friday. Netflix did not need to hold this 414 level, right? That is a huge hold on Netflix right there. That is a hold, right, of the previous double top right there. Highs, right? Netflix turned this high into demand all day Friday, right? If it was not strong, right? If Netflix was not strong, it would not have held that level. But it broke up, right? It pulled aggressively back. And where did it hold on Friday? It held right at the previous double top. As long as Netflix is above this 414, I think this continues, right? Of course, you have to watch these highs around this 426, 427, right? We sort of keep an eye on that high right there. Make sure we don't get too aggressive into that high. If you are above 414, that is a previous double top turning into demand. And not only that, but if we go to the 4-hour chart, you guys remember how important this 414 level was, right? This 414 level goes back all the way to here, right? It actually goes back on the daily chart even further. Let me get like 5 years here. This 414 level dates back very, very far, right? It dates back here in 2018. It dates back here in 2020. It dates back here in 2022, right? So this is a big 414 level that we very clearly turned into demand on Friday. So how do you trade this, right? You look for 414 to turn into demand. If it holds, you can look for upside. If it breaks back below and you start to see this, then obviously this thesis changes, right? You have to be able to adjust. So watch 414 on Netflix. If you hold this level, right, this could be a nice upside. Just be careful of that 427. Stephen McBride for being great at what you do. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that, man. Shout out to you, Stephen. TSM, sexy. That's all I'll say. It's just sexy. It's a sexy one, right? This is the exact same setup on Shopify. It's a 4-hour break and retest, right? I'll go ahead and pop up what this looked like before. It's just perfect. That's what it is. So here it is, right? This was my tweet on June 8th, right? Long TSM into next week, 4-hour bull flag, strong break and retest of the previous highs at 98. There's your chart, right? That's what it looked like. You had a break, you had a retest, you had a 4-hour flag holding the previous highs right here at 98, right? And yeah, there's your end of story, right? There's your end of picture, your end result, right? Absolutely beautiful. So that's what I love to trade. This is what you're seeing a lot on the market. I made a video about this. It was 2 videos ago, how you're seeing 4-hour bull flags everywhere, and they are paying very nicely. So I'm going to continue to trade this type of setup on the market. Shopify paid. I didn't manage it correctly. If I would have taken profits, right, that would have been a $10,000 trade. TSM, I took profits on Friday, and I'm holding a runner into today. So I did the right thing on TSM. I learned my lesson. After I got this move on Friday, you guys saw that straight up move Friday, right? After seeing this push on Friday, I took profits. I held runners. I did the proper thing instead of being greedy like Shopify. It took Shopify for me to learn my lesson on these swing trades. So break, retest, 4-hour flag, previous highs, bam, beautiful trade. Should be up nicely on the runners today. Congratulations on this one, guys. I think this continues, right? I think this continues to 110, right? If you break, right? If you break that 105 high, then I think this continues to these lows here, which is right around that 108, 110 area, right? That would be my target. 108 to 110, right? These previous weekly lows, then I think that that's where you run to if you break this high here on the 4-hour. 4-hour here, this high is 105.24. All right, if you break that, then I think you run into that 108 level. All right, so really nice. Congrats on this one, guys. If you pay attention to the chat, if you pay attention to the setups that I post, if you pay attention to the social medias, sometimes I'll put some stuff out on there. And if you pay attention to the live streams, You know, we talked about the Microsoft sneaky long, right? If you remember, go play back Friday, right? Go back to Friday's live stream and listen to when I talk about Microsoft and how I think this could be a sneaky long position. And we absolutely nailed the hell out of this thing on Friday. So on Friday, you had a hold of this previous high, right? You had a hold of this previous high, and you had a hold here back on that Thursday, right? So you knew that this was demand around this 323. You pushed aggressively down into that level on Wednesday into Thursday. Thursday, you flagged and consolidated right above that demand. On Friday, in the live stream, I said that I'm looking to swing trade a long on Microsoft off this 323 level. I pretty much opened that right at open, an absolute monster move. And the best part of this swing trade is that you turned, right? Let me show you what happened here. You turned a previous high, a previous low, right? A previous rejection point. You turn that into support, right? And that should give you the confidence to stay in this position, right? Look at this day over day on the 15-minute chart on Microsoft. You turned, right, this previous high right here, this previous rejection point, into support on Friday. So you just did a little break and retest. And as long as Microsoft, in my opinion, stays above 327, then this is still a good long position. All right. And so my target here is to get Microsoft at least back into this little consolidation area, anywhere between like this 332 to 334. All right. I am at least looking for Microsoft to trade back into at least this 332, 334 area, right? This area right back from here. So I'm going to move this down here. I'm looking for Microsoft to trade at least back into these lows, sort of make back this aggressive downside from Wednesday, and I'm looking to see if we can get that move today. So we'll see, right? I want Microsoft to maintain over that 327 for my swing trade to stay valid. So that's what I'm going to watch today, 327. But a great long from Friday. If you guys were watching the live stream, congrats if you caught that one. AMD is a beast, man. AMD has continued to be a beast. Look at that 116 demand. If you guys remember from the live stream, we took a long off 116. Unfortunately, I looked at this as a short-term scalp, which I'm a little upset about because this really was a long-term sort of swing trade off 116 demand. Really cleaned up, tripled bottom here, right? Bottom, bottom, bottom. Clean as hell. Clean as day. Right off 116 demand. Very nice. Huge breakout. Today, sort of gone, to be honest, but here's what I'd watch, right? Here's what I would watch today. These are the levels I'd focus on. If you can get a pullback to 127, I'd look for longs. If you get a pullback lower to 125.50, I'd look for longs, right? So look for this high to turn into support, or to look for this high to turn into support, right? This area here. So if we can get something like this, I would look for that 127 long, right? Or if we do get a deeper pullback, I would look for longs around this 125.50 area, all right? Those are the two longs that I would look for here, either here or there, right? 127 or 125.50 are the two areas that I would pay attention to today on AMD. If we go to the 4-hour, though, I find it hard to believe that AMD does not try to push back into that 133 level, right? There's really nothing here. If we go to the hourly chart, there is really nothing here above 127. So if you're above 127 here, right, if you're above this rejection point right here, if you're above this high right here from Friday, I just don't simply see much here until this 133, 132, right? Look at this price action back here. There's nothing here. So I would not be surprised to see AMD run into that 133, 132. I think that's very possible. The best entry would be a retest of 127. That would be the best possible entry. If you could see that, that would be really, really nice. So look out for that 127. All right. Last thing I want to go over today is Coinbase. I think Coinbase is in the shitter, to be quite honest. This SEC news is definitely not good for Coinbase. Cryptocurrency, I don't know, man. It feels like it's on its last legs here. But Coinbase, technically, right? I'll keep my emotions out of it. I'll keep my personal thoughts about cryptocurrency out of this. On the technical, I took a short here on Coinbase because this bear flag just looks too hot not to take a shot, right? Look at how clean this is. look at all this demand here on Coinbase and look at what it did on Friday. Look at how clean it just nailed at this 56 level. Look how clean this nail at 56 was, right? That's just a nail right there. That's what I'll call that, right? Previous huge lows at 56. I mean, look at how important this level was. We got under that 56. We had a bear flag over the last 4 trading days right into that 56. And look at that nail right there, right? Look at how nasty that was. So I took a little swing over the weekend to the downside for Coinbase, some coin puts. Nice little gap down this morning. If it stays under this bear flag, I think this has more to go. If you break under 51, then I think this really starts to lose it. So watch that 51 on coin. It might hold that demand today, right? It could definitely hold that demand and just sort of mess around here. But I would love to see this break this bear flag and start to break this 51. Something I'm going to watch today as well. All right. That's all I got. That's all I got. Some really nice setups out there. Actually, you know what? I want to show you Meta. This was the last one I wanted to show you, actually. Meta is another downside watch for me. I think this is a little bit of an intriguing I guess it's not really a bear flag. It's more of like an ascending triangle, right? I think that's what the boys call it. But if you reject this 269, right, this is interesting on Meta still. If you get downside on the market, I am going to look for this trade. I'm going to look for this to reject here again at 269, and I'm going to look for this trade back into 260. That's if the market's weak, right? That's a big if. But this is interesting here at 269. Watch out for this supply up here. This is intriguing. So, but again, right, if you break above 269, this setup is gone, right? This is no longer a setup. If you break above 69, right, some of us like this short as well, right? I see some of you guys saying head and shoulders. I like it too. Me too, right? I like that. Now, if we are short players here, we have to accept that if Meta gets back above 269, that we are wrong, right? We have to accept if Meta gets back above 269, you can no longer be short this stock, right? So watch 269. That has to be your level to watch. Maybe you push it to 270, right? If you're feeling a little bit more aggressive, maybe you push it up to 270 and you say, okay, as long as it's below 270, I'm going to hold it. You could do that. I'm feeling it's more like 269 here, but you could watch that 270 as well. Either way, I like the head and shoulder idea. If you get market weakness, right, this could be a nice little uptrend break for a move back down into like this 255. So let's see. Let's keep an eye on this Meta. All right. All right, guys. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed the live streams. We had like 1,900 people in here, and we are still struggling on the likes, man. We just can't get 1,000 likes. If you guys could be so kind on this beautiful Monday morning. I know you guys are tired. I know it's Monday morning. I know, but we got to get it going. We got to get the VSM going, man. The violence, the speed, the momentum. If you guys could press the like button, if you could subscribe to the channel if you're new. I think I'm pretty close to 67,000 subscribers. Did we get it? Let me see. 66, I'm sorry. Yes, we got 66,000. Thank you guys for that. That's a nice little 66 there. Need to get 100K, man. We got to catch up to Carmine. We got to catch up to Carmine. All right. Thank you guys so much. Press that like button if you could. Get me to 1,000 likes. I appreciate that if you could. Awesome trades from last week. Some nice runners, some nice swing trades. If you guys caught some of those with me, congratulations. If you're in the Discord, just wanted to say congrats here on the live stream. Yeah. Like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Adios.